The DNC says they're prepared to take on Trump no matter what. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And on the line with us is Lily Adams, the senior spokesperson and advisor to the DNC War Room. Democrats.org is the website. Lily's Twitter handle is AdamsLily, Lily, or at DNC War Room or at the Democrats. Lily, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us today. Tell us about the new ad that you guys have out.
Well, thanks for having me. We just launched a new ad in Wisconsin and Michigan, which will be critical states this fall, basically to talk about the issue that's on a lot of parents' minds right now, which is whether schools are going to reopen and whether Trump is going to force schools to reopen without the proper testing, without the proper protective equipment for teachers. And we just know that, parents do not trust this president to make that kind of decision, given how he's completely mismanaged the coronavirus crisis.
So what's your sense of how this is playing out? I mean, it certainly looks like we're looking at an absolute electoral disaster and blowout for Donald Trump. And yet his whole thing today, tweeting about let's postpone the elections. You could see that as a cynical move to push off the headlines off the front page, a discussion about the worst economic crash in the history of the world happening on his watch. Or you could view that as his trying to, one up the John Lewis funeral, or, that he just he's got this list of things that he can just throw out there when he needs to divert people's attention. Or this could be the opening salvo of his attempts when the election happens to say, I tried to postpone this. I tried to fix it. You've got, you've got a disaster going on here because we hobbled the post office and there's all these mail-in ballots that have not yet been received by the states. How does, what's your best sense? I mean, you're in the middle of this, you're watching how this is happening. What's your best sense of what his strategy is going to be? And will the Republicans continue to support him in this kind of craziness?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, look, we've seen him do this time and time again. We saw him do it 4 years ago, where when he sees bad news, and the bad news that he got today is that 1.4 million more people made jobless claims, that the U.S. economy shrank by 32.9%, which is the single largest contraction of the U.S. economy on record. I mean, these are the headlines that he woke up to this morning. And so he tries to distract and sort of create a shiny object. But the problem is that the American people are not buying it. They know that their families are hurting. They know that their kids can't go back to school because he has bungled this crisis so badly. They know that friends and family and even themselves have lost their jobs because the president has completely screwed this up from day one. So I think the problem is that he used to do this and have some success, but now the American people just really aren't buying it. But I will tell you, and I think you were alluding to this, it is particularly insulting for him to do this and to talk about moving the election, which we know he can't do, on the day of John Lewis's memorial, which, there are a few Americans who have given more to the protection of free and fair elections in this country than John Lewis.
Yeah, amen. Speak to the issue of race in the United States. My sense in 1988 was, and Lee Atwater actually bragged about this, that if George Herbert Walker Bush had not, in a desperate move, or maybe not desperate move, maybe just a cynical ploy, had not run the Willie Horton ads and characterized Michael Dukakis the way he was, had it not been basically for his shout out to white racists, he would not have been president. Had Ronald Reagan not given his first speech once he was nominated as the Republican candidate in 1980 in Philadelphia, Mississippi, down the road from where Schwermer, Goodman, and Cheney were murdered, the civil rights workers, that Reagan wouldn't have been the nominee. He wouldn't have become president. That in fact, I would say that probably the only Republican who has run for president and not put a naked appeal to white racism at the center of his campaign was probably George W. Bush in 2000. And there are people who would argue that he was doing it as well. It was just far more subtle. But clearly Trump is, his tweets yesterday about, white suburban, you people, I'm going to keep black people from coming into your neighborhood. He all but said it, right?
Yeah,
and I think that, white people, we have to acknowledge that racism is real in the white community. How big a role is that going to play?
Well, I mean, I think he has traded in, a tried and true method of people in politics of racist dog whistles for racist bullhorns. I mean, he's not hiding this anymore, but we know he's a racist. He was a racist when he ran 4 years ago. He's a racist now. I think the American people are tired of having a president who, they see political wins by dividing folks. They see political wins by keeping people apart. And, I think they just know that we're not going to build back better, as Joe Biden would say, if we're continuing to discriminate and to pit one group of folks in this country against another. Joe Biden said it very well when he started this campaign, that this is a fight for the soul of our country. And I think we see that every single day, that we have to reject this kind of racist rhetoric from the White House, from Donald Trump. But increasingly, that's all he's got left.
Yeah. Lily, you're working with the DNC, right in the middle of all this. We have just a minute till we're going to hit a hard break. But about 6 months ago, a friend of mine who is a Republican consultant in Washington, D.C., made the comment to me, Rutherford Hayes was not elected president of the United States, yet he served. And that sent me down this rabbit hole. Are you guys preparing and planning for if Donald Trump pulls some just wild-ass shenanigan, forgive my obscenity, some crazy shenanigan here?
I think the Biden campaign and us at the Democratic Party are preparing for every single scenario to make sure not only that the results of the election are respected, but that every single American can vote. And so, we'll be working really hard to do that from now until about 90 days from now on Election Day.